Inota toku wenchi dikubuni dikututa futuluma wafu dikenyosi afaga befai maheru dikunu materu naba maheru naba maheru naba prophet neblaba la musa moro din big the gun the truth teller the prophet never la musa moro den big the chosen one the messiah Basa ila mugenaba Masi otobile bana bilege naba Isina basa ila mugenaba Nikisi yomuti nifezi Nikisi yomuti nifezi Namerite biya no ifezi Namerite biya no ifezi Anye kisi yomuti nifezi Nikisi yomuti nifezi Anya dile maheru shinyeve Namerite biya no inala fotelu Inana bao Tufunu masiru naba maheru naba maheru naba Prophet neblaba la musa moro dine big the dog on the truth teller the prophet neblaba la musa moro dine big the chosen one the messiah He is the chosen one and the Messiah. He's the light and the way. The wisdom of our days. The healer, the preacher, the truth teller. Bangati to go listen up a second. What's wrong with us? The chosen one, the Messiah. Listen up a second. What you're for, listen up a second. What
Sponsor a child from the Dogon villages today. They are the future healers, leaders and preservers of Kemetic traditions. Just like Prophet Nebnaba, these children of the Earth Center and our network of healers are being educated in local schools in addition to their indigenous cultural practices and traditions. This comprehensive education both positions them to inherit the work of their forefathers and mothers and continues bridging the gap between traditional and modern societies. So go ahead, support, find out more about our campaigns and donate by going to www.theearthcenter.org. Thank you.
Ujjayi, Ujjayi Retneb. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. Ujjayi, greetings and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. Another week where we share a topic of wisdom, cultural practices and traditions of our ancestors. We are currently airing from Bless Radio Studios. That's Bless Radio 1 on YouTube. Studio number 07944 431 366. My name is Sat Abti Irijed and I am accompanied here by my Hattini.
Nahibsa Nisibik.
Yeah, and we are representatives, or you could better said initiates of the Earth Center. The Earth Center's mystery schools of Dogon and Kemetic philosophy and spirituality. We are based here in the UK, London, located at number 21 Sunnyside Road, London E10 7BB. And if for any reason you'd like to get in touch with us, you can contact us at our Temple London School on 0208 558 3678. So before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the divine world for our existence. I'd like to acknowledge and give thanks to our ancestors for their continued guidance, support and protection. And acknowledging and giving much gratitude to our grand teacher, Prophet Neb Naba Lemusamorin Denibeg. As if it was not for him, we would not be sat here in this context. So we give thanks for him bringing the ancient and living teachings of the initiation to the West through the Earth Center. I'd also like to, so he's given us the opportunity really to reconnect with our ancestral spirit, with our ancestors, and to fit in with the divine world. So we give thanks. Let it do our will. I always think it's important to orientate ourselves in time and space, where we've been privileged greatly to have tools such as the Kemetic sidereal calendar, which assists us in knowing when the favorable times for spiritual works are. So, it's always good to know where we are in time and space. So we are currently in the cycle of the third day of the second week, being 13 Mezutri, the month of Mezutri. Excuse my pronunciations, family. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Kemetic sidereal calendar, it's made up of 13 months. 12 of those months have 3 weeks each of 10 days. So we are currently on the third day of the second week in the month of Mesjuri, year 420. And the neter that governs the month is Hakru. That's a great goddess working for the stability of the universe. So it's always good to know what neter governs the month, especially the month in which you were born, so you can kind of see what characteristics that neter carries. Okay, so with regards to the Kemetic sidereal calendar, if you really want to keep up with time and space, knowing where you're at, you can purchase the sidereal calendar on the Earth Center website at www.theearthcenter, spelled CENTER UK.com. So that's the earthcenteruk.com. You can purchase a sidereal calendar there. We are coming to the end of the Kemetic year, with the new year starting in the early part of September. But the calendars have so much useful information that even if it's a year out, you will still find good use for it. So the current calendar is themed on Ancaster. So each month has a medicinal remedy that you can easily access the products for and prepare in your own homes. So the calendars are always useful to have, even if they are out of date. Other publications which are also available on the Earth Center website include the Hejpatar. These publications I'm about to go through were written by Neb Naba himself. So the Hejpatar is a wonderful book of short stories and parables. We also have the Philosophy Podium, a Dogon Perspective, and that's a book of short essays.
Definitely. Both. Yeah, they're short essays.
Yeah.
But thought-provoking.
Very thought-provoking. Very thought-provoking indeed. And these are the type of essays that you would read over and over and over again and always get something more from it. The more you kind of grow your spiritual qualities, the more depth of understanding you'll get from the text. So there's always something there.
As I say, it's a book of philosophy, really, isn't it? So it's how deep you allow your mind to go, really, isn't it?
I would say so. I would agree with that. Yeah. So that's a great book to have. And we'll be reading from that book today as well. Also, we have the Book of Purification. So the Book of Purification is also a very powerful book. It really actually shows you how to cleanse yourself and prepare yourself to stand before the Neter and to stand before your ancestors. It has in there original indigenous prayers in the Medu language, mantras, and also a very, very helpful glossary that really just goes into a lot of depth about spirituality and how to approach it and how to practice it. And then we have the Sidereal Calendar, which I've already mentioned, and the Great Book of Divine Ordinances, which is our original 77 human codes of behavior given to us by the world of the divine, given to humanity to help us raise our human qualities and to fit in with nature and to fit in with the divine world. And we also have the Mandala of Dendra, which is the original map of the sky with the original constellations. So all of those publications are available on the Earth Center website, www.theearthcenteruk.com. So the Earth Center, for those that are not aware, the Earth Center is a spiritual organization. It was founded by Master Neb Naba Musa Morin Denibeg as a path to reconnect humanity to its original culture. The Earth Center is built on the foundation of indigenous principles and values, understanding that as human beings, we thrive when we are educated and live according to what grounds us in nature. The EC is currently made up of 3 main arms. So one of those arms is the Firefly Productions, which is the Earth Center's publishing house. So all of the publications I've mentioned we publish, the EC, the Earth Center publishes in-house through Firefly Productions. In addition to those publications mentioned, we also have a quarterly Firefly magazine, posters, and more. So you can check out the website and have a look at those publications and purchase at your will. Another arm of the Earth Center is MTAM, the EC's Mystery Schools of Kemetic Philosophy and Spirituality. And that makes up the initiation also. And it's made up of 3 classes, including Medu, Katibi, and Sunt. So the Medu class is language, as well as Kemetic culture, history, and Dogon philosophy. Language is the cornerstone of humanity and equally is the cornerstone of the MTAM initiation. So in the Medu class, you would learn how to read, write, and speak Medu. Medu is also known as hieroglyphs in the West, humanity's original language. And then there is Katibi, and Katibi covers Kemetic spirituality. It covers movement, i.e. yoga, and meditation techniques practiced by the Dogon priesthood themselves. It also covers prayers and mantras in the Medu language. And then the third class is Sunt, which is the natural healing class, where Kemetic knowledge and understanding of the material and non-material aspects of the body, of the human body. You learn about illnesses that affect the body and non-invasive techniques for maintaining health and well-being. So those are the three classes that make up the MTARM school, mystery school. And the next arm, the third arm of the Earth Center is POM, which is Projects of Merita. So Projects of Merita leads many charitable activities, development and fundraising projects. And that these are around the West Africa's traditional territories. So projects include things such as farming projects, clean water, construction, sacred object reclamations, and traditional ceremony preservation. And as you would have heard from the intro advert, one of our most recent campaigns is for the Children's Education Fund. So if you are interested in knowing more about the Projects of Merita and how you can get involved, please do visit the website. You can also visit www.theearthcenter.org. Also with Projects of Merita, it's also the body that delivers or provides the
pilgrimage,
yeah, which is a very important aspect of the Earth Center, actually, I would say. Do you want to say anything on that, Hatini?
Yeah, well, the POM project really is basically about keeping things authentic. Basically, Master Nabi was keen about that. The farming, keep the farming organic, to do for self. He was a Pan-Africanist, so he believed in that we, rather than depending on the West, we should be doing things for ourselves, such as providing clean water for ourselves, farming. There's a restoration of the temples. There's the children. There's a children project that's been that's in process
the
now.
Education Fund,
educational project. So there are a lot of ongoing things that Project of Merita is involved in, really, but it's mainly about keeping things authentic, providing, doing for self-development, really.
Yeah. And really giving us in the diaspora opportunity to go back and to experience that indigenous traditional liberty.
Well, from the interview we had last week, you can see how, life-changing it was really to go and experience, like, these people living in what sort of Western society would perceive as being in poverty, but they're rich really in spirituality, and humanity, really, aren't they?
Right.
So it's the more that we have, is the less kind of humane we become, really. So pilgrimage is open at certain time of the year for everyone. It's an experience that is a life-changing experience.
And you'll have the opportunity to visit sacred temples and also to have spiritual works done. It is. So that's closely associated with the Het Aishat, which
Temple
is So that's the Ancaster Spiritual Healing Center, and Projects of Merita is definitely something worth looking into if you're interested in kind of going back home, having that experience, or just being part of the development that's taking place.
And the difference really with that as well, where the pilgrimage really is based about the indigenous side of the culture, as they would say, there's a difference between Africa and Merita. And when you go on pilgrimage, it's showing you Merita, and so there's that the influence of the European, and you can see like the indigenous side of things, really, where that part of the culture was maintained and kept. And as my sister said, there really is, we're privileged because it was kept, it was able to be passed down to us, and so we're privileged to be able to kind of to get this profound knowledge, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So so that's the three arms of the Earth Center. I will share with you now some contact details. If you just bear with me one moment. So, as mentioned before, well, firstly, we're here airing via Bless Radio 1. So if for any reason you want to share a thought or a comment, you can call in on 07944 431 366. Our London school, our London Earth Centre Temple, is located at number 21 Sunnyside Road, London, E107BB, and you can contact us there on 0208 558 3678. And then we have the Earth Centre UK website, which is the earthcenteruk.com, and that is centre spelled CENTER.
And also we've got like our sister school as well in Coventry, which is the address for that is 18 Biggin Crescent, Coventry, CV3 1GS, and the number for Coventry is 024 76 26 alternatively 07 305 995944. So that's the Coventry number. We've got events. We've got events coming up at the end of the month for the.
Is that the Coventry one or the London one?
Sorry.
Whilst Hatton is getting that, you can, for email inquiries, you can contact us on inquiries-uk@theearthcentre.org. And then we have our Facebook, the Earth Centre UK, Twitter, Kebta, that's at Kebta UK, spelled KEBTAH UK, Instagram at the Earth Centre of UK, so that's the Earth Centre of UK, and again our website is the earthcenteruk.com. Lastly, I'll just say for North America and internationally, the website is the earthcentre.org.
Wow. And the event that we have coming up on the 28th of this month here, the 28th, which is going to be at 21 Sunnyside Road, Leighton, London, E107BB, is going to be, the title of the lecture is going to be Understanding the Power of the Ancestors. And you could book. The door entry would be,
I think it is £7.
Yeah, £7. There's £5 age between 14 and 18,
yes,
and free under 14. And you can book online, which is a £5 entry there. So that's going to be on the 28th of August 2021, and it's going to be at the Sunnyside. And I said, the lecture, the title is Understanding the Power of the Ancestors. And you know, it's a strong topic really, because without our ancestors, we wouldn't be here. They are the one that's actually guiding us through, trying to kind of navigate us through this mayhem of what society's put in front of us. You know, so yeah, that's going to be a very good lecture to take in. You know,
definitely one not to be missed.
Yeah.
And just to give a bit more context to that, because the key questions that are being asked in terms of understanding the power of the ancestors is, do you control your own destiny? Do you know how the ancestors can affect the lives of their descendants? So those are the key questions that are really being answered. So come and join the Earth Centre London at our temple, where we will be sharing Kemetic knowledge, normally reserved for initiates, based around the topic understanding the power of the ancestors. So yeah, this is going to be a really powerful lecture, and get your children there. It's free for under 14-year-olds, so it's a really good opportunity to expose your children, our children, to this knowledge.
And that's basically really it, is really, isn't it? Because if we don't expose them, if we're not going to be putting what we know should be going into our children, then society takes charge of that. And when they do that, we can see the result of what's taking place out there with our young ones, really.
And that's really going to tie in with today's title. But before we do go into the title of today's show, I do have a proverb, an African proverb of the week.
What, another thought-provoking.
Yes. Something for us all to meditate on and to really see how it applies to you in your life. And also as we go into the subject of today's title, you can also maybe meditate and reflect on how it ties in with the topic. So the proverb of the week is: distracted by what is far away, he does not see his nose. Distracted by what is far away, he does not see his nose. So yeah, have a think about that, meditate on it, and feel free to share your thought, your understanding, your perspective on that proverb, relating to yourself personally or in relation to the topic of today's show as we move forward. So just to remind you, the studio number is 07944 431 366.
Yes.
So I think we're going to go into a small
We're just gonna
interlude.
We'll give them this.
And come back to the topic.
can hear the elders saying, these are the days for which we've been praying. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. It's repatriation, black liberation. Yes, the time has come, black man, you're going home. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. I can see them coming, I can see hydrants running, I can hear the elders saying, these are the days for which we've been praying. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. Marcus Garvey told us, freedom is a must. He told us that the Black Star liners are coming one day for us. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming in the harbor. 7 miles of Black Star liners. 7 miles of Black Star liners. 7 miles of Black Star liners coming, 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 coming. For I and I, for I and I, for I and I and I.
Ojai, Ojai, welcome back to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And as the tune was saying, 7 miles of Black Star liner, and we want to pay tribute to. Yesterday was Marcus Garvey, one of our greatest Pan-Africanists, who basically he's one of the only one so far, really, right, and was led like the largest international kind of political movement, really, amongst African people in black African history. And Marcus Garvey, he was able to galvanize over 6 million people, global, worldwide. Had over about 700 different branches, really. I think over 500 was in the United States there. So, Marcus Garvey basically, we were at a time in our history, really, right, where we never had much really to hold on to. We're disunited, and to a certain point we are probably still disunited now. Still struggling, really, right, to kind of to unite and galvanize like other races has done, and able to kind of excel, And again, this kind of blends in with our topic, really, right, is because of the miseducation that's being given to us. So Marcus Garvey was a believer, really, in doing for self-reliance. To sit there and wait on someone else to do something that you can do for yourself makes no logical sense, really. And that's the state that we're in. We're sitting there forever, kind of depending and waiting on others to do for us what we can do for self. So, Marcus Garvey, he contributed a lot, really, right, to the black race, uplifting us, really, instilling like certain values, certain pride, really, and faith, really, that we could have, ability in ourselves, to believe in ourselves. Without confidence, really, and you've lost the battle. So trying to kind of for us to recognize that we had a history, we had a very kind of fruitful history, before we was taken into slavery. And, you know, one of Marcus Garvey's quotes really for the black race was, without authority and power is a race without respect. So, you know, when you're put into a place, right, where you can't see yourself in history or what part you play in history, that was part of what was kind of was erased from us. You know, there's a stage really, right, where as black people really it was forbidden for us to even read a book. You know, so we were kept in a state of docile. And education is the key really to a lot of things. And Marcus Garvey, he actually you know, he published his first newspaper. Well, he left school at the age of 14, yeah, to do to join a printing press, a printing establishment. And after 7 years doing that, really, he was able to kind of to start his first newspaper, which was the Watchman. And from there, really, he became like a professional printer, and you know, he's printing a lot of magazines, putting out the information out there. As they say, knowledge is power, and so he believed in that. You know, that with knowledge, hopefully, really, like say, that would improve really like our understanding of our place in the world. You know, Marcus Garvey left Jamaica, really, right, and he went to Americas, really, where you know, he discovered a lot of discrimination and racism there. Well, that led him to printing again, like say the first black newspaper in Costa Rica and in the Panama. And his quest to seek knowledge to free his people, he traveled a few places around the world, you know, giving out information, kind of inspiring others out there, really. He's left a legacy where we see like the Rastafarian culture, Rastafari, they adopted, you know, he was the one that kind of inspired him to look towards Africa, you know, towards a king. You know, we was actually there as Rastafarian, the culture there was looking towards, or they believed in the Bible so much, really, right? So they couldn't even see themselves where they were in the Bible. So he was one of the ones that kind of inspired black people to look towards Africa, to look towards a king. You know, so the Rastafarians, it just happened that at that particular time when he made that statement, Haile Selassie was being crowned in Ethiopia, so they adopted him as their god. That's another story. But in 1917, Marcus Garvey established the UNIA. That was the Universal Negro Improvement Movement. You know, from there, in that movement there, he had a motto, which was one goal, one aim, one destiny. And that movement was actually formed in Harlem. You know, that's where the main headquarters, their base was. Now, Marcus Garvey, he was married twice. His first wife, his first relationship, didn't last very long because of the pressures, really, of like the work that he was trying to do. So that relationship to Amy Ashford actually didn't last long. After 2 months, that relationship or that marriage broke down. his second wife, which was Amy Jake, through that relationship, that marriage, he was able to have two children, two boys. One was Marcus Garvey Jr. and the other one was Julian Garvey, who they carried on the mantle for what Marcus Garvey actually started off. Now, Amy Jakes, she has to be admired, really, because it was through her work, her determination, the energy. They say for every great man there's a great woman, and even after his death, she was the one that actually put together a lot of his work, a lot of his unwritten work, unpublished work, that it was put out there and published. So she played a great part in the legacy of getting the work out there, and there's a few people that's actually written books. Tony Martin, Jewish Onslaught. That's a great book, really, like explaining about his journey, what he actually went through. I would say Marcus Garvey, he was born in, as I said, yesterday was his Earthstrong, so which was the 17th of August, and he was born like in St. Anne's Bay, and he was the youngest, as you can say, like of 11, and so his father was quite, his mother was religious. He was followed his mother quite strongly. Marcus Garvey said, "What you do today is worthwhile, inspires others, and to act some future time." So his inspiration inspired people such as Queen Mother Moore, who fought for African redemption. Yeah. So Queen for African redemption. So we had like people like he inspired people like Kwame Nkrumah, he was president of Ghana, and Kwame Nkrumah was impressed by Marcus Garvey and what he was trying to do. Yeah, that he put the star in the red, gold, and green flag of the Ghanaian flag. Some people would call Marcus Garvey a prophet, a giant amongst giants. Some people would call him Moses. Others would probably call him like the guiding star. Now, we just want to kind of say, just acknowledge Marcus Garvey in these times, yeah, where, as I said, we're so disunited as a race of people. Yeah. And yeah, and so just to acknowledge, the contribution, the many contribution that he's actually kind of given to us, really, in these times, where we can see where society is basically still trying to break us apart. Yeah. We see where we're kind of assimilating into other people's culture and still not getting nowhere, because we're neglecting our own culture, our own values. And this was a part of Marcus Garvey, one of the things that he tried to achieve when he set up the Black Star Aligner. And even in doing that, really, right, he had a lot of challenges, sabotage, so his aim, really, right, was to basically to get the African people to repatriate and go back home. You know, the land is there. He recognized that the land is there. Everything that we need to sustain ourselves is there on the motherland. So his aim really, right, was to have his own shipping line so that he can import and export his own things, right, for the African people, you know, taking us back home, importing our products. You know, he was able to, Marcus Garvey set up a lot of work. He provided work, employment for a lot of African people. He actually had like an army. If you remember the first black army, of men and women, didn't he?
And the nurses.
And the nurse, yeah. You know, so this is just a tribute, just an acknowledgement, just to remember, really. You know, it's not. We don't have many leaders like this who come, like, especially like in our lifetime, really, and done as much as what he's done, really, right, to set like a legacy that, till this day, even with technology, the amount of people that he galvanized, we struggle till this day now, really, right, to galvanize our people under one banner. And he did that. He was able to achieve that without the technology that we have today. So it seems like the leaders, our leaders of today, they probably might not be carrying the right messages, really, right, to unify our people. Would you say that? Would you? I mean,
well, the works of Marcus Garvey is amazing. You know, like you're saying, to comprehend how he was able to galvanize so many of us in those times. Imagine what he would have achieved in this time.
With technology, really. So, and I suppose the closest really they got to that really right was Fahkara with the 1 million man march, wasn't it? Thereafter. But that was nothing compared to his achievement really in his global impact that he had, you know. So yeah, we'll just leave it there really for now. But that's just in memory really like of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And we're gonna give it this tune from Muta Baruka. Just
The temple of the Most High begins with the human body, which houses our lives, essence of our existence. Africans are in bondage today because they approach spirituality through religion, provided by foreign invaders and conquerors. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which was supposed to help people grow spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool. The temple of the Most High begins with the human body, which houses our lives, essence of our existence. Africans are in bondage today because they approach spirituality through religion, provided by foreign invaders and conquerors. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which was supposed to help people grow spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is simply a way of life, pure and original, as was given by the Most High of creation. Humanity is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. As the essence of our existence, it embodies our culture, true identity, nationhood, and destiny. A people without a nation that they can really call their own is a people without a soul. Africa is our nation and is in spiritual and physical bondage because our leaders are turning to outside forces for solution to African problems. When everything Africa needs is within her. When African righteous people come together, the world will come together. This is our divine destiny. Words of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I.
Ujai, welcome back. Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Nile show, and I'm your presenter Nahibsa. Now, this week's topic really is a very interesting one, really. Well, I think so anyway, and it's one of those topics really, like where it's going to take us right back to the beginning of from when we know ourselves, really. The conquest for our soul, and that battle for our soul has been going on from a very, very long time, you know, in history, from we know ourselves. And Master Naba, we're going to read you well, first of all, should we read that first? Yeah, we read that first. Yeah, read this from Master Naba. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Conquest of the Soul from the Philosophy Podium, chapter 41, and I think this is a chapter we have read before, but it is very powerful and relevant. Okay, so for a long time we have heard our so-called spiritual leaders advise us about the importance of conventions concerning our dreams and aspirations. They do their job with the feeling of helping us stay occupied or preoccupied by the goals that we have set, encouraging us towards everything except that which will lead us to question the world and the society in which we live. They told us to work if we want our bread, and this is without any concern about whom we should work for and where our sweat and strength will be taking us. They have trained us to believe only in what we can see, touch, feel, etc. They expect us to acknowledge only the material aspects of the world and to keep the hope that we will know how to answer the other questions whose answers do not necessarily reside within these realms where the laws of materialism apply. Maybe it's better that we focus on the individual and his suffering in this world. A world that does not stop bombarding him with the idea that he must be happy. We shall look at the individual forced to choose between a multitude of ideas, dreams, and objectives that he simply does not know. It is very important for us to ask ourselves adequate questions, and the answers we find can reveal in us the dimension of the world in which we live. The priest Ptah Hetep of the Temple of Memphis arranged the words very well in his proverb, which he introduced to the world. Foolishness is rewarded. When foolishness is rewarded, wisdom becomes useless. This is the source of our problem. The best way to corrupt an individual is to reward his stupidity. This is the state of the individual fragility. Foolishness will become the goal of his life if society rewards him for it. The goal of life will no longer be the survival and the transcendence of the soul, but the getting of bread and the pleasures of the moment. Just like an animal walking from pasture to pasture. It's very important for the individual to ask himself the question, why? Why do we do what we do? If the honest answers that we find to this question bring us back to the idea of the bread and pleasure that we gain, then let's have the courage to recognize that we have sold our souls. This society has produced a lot of people just like us, all of them preoccupied by the idea of self-destruction and by the social politics that classify us on the basis of the quantity of bread, pleasure, and glory that it allocates to us. As long as we make this the reason for our importance, this will remain our world, or shall we say the world in which society is being rewarded. The individual will capitalize on his capability to be a fool. The individual soul is not that difficult to conquer. Even societies that refuse to advance in time and space very conveniently maintain the idea of social sacrifice. The fool can go as far as seeing in his own life his own way of contributing to the social sacrifice. We must recognize that our situation as individuals is not easy. It is the same society that has convinced us of the importance and the need to educate ourselves about what we want to make of ourselves, which is telling us that when it comes to our spirit and our soul, the religion it has chosen for us will be the path to our salvation. And in this domain, our belief and the practice of the cult it has organized will be our way of surviving. The question why remains. The question will help us guide our steps in life. This question will confront us at any moment and will remind us at any moment to see the dimensions of the world in which we live. The state of this planet is in the image of its inhabitants. The planet will survive only if we, its inhabitants, are interested in the argument of survival. The human being who aims at his bread will not question his axe. He is not different from these maggots that engage in putrefied carcass. Just like these maggots, such human beings do not ask questions about the future. As we say in the village, tell me your goal and I will tell you if you are a fool. It is very ironic to see that we shall find the same faults in ourselves on which we base our arguments to classify our species as inferior to us. To classify other species as inferior to us. It is because the other animal seems to be interested only in what it can eat that it easily falls into the trap we set for it. It is because the animal is interested in food and sex that he finds himself locked in a cycle that makes him available to any being capable of exploiting him. We don't need to furnish a lot of effort to observe that if the animals we are exploiting develop priorities other than eating, we would stop calling them primitive or lacking in intelligence. Maybe our evolution simply went in the direction opposite to the one we wished to take. And in our societies, there are individuals or groups of people always ready to redirect our individual effort. We can only ask them the why question. Yes, why? Why even before our birth have people chosen forbidden territories for us? Why is it that our decision to become the best singer, athlete, comedian, electrician, mechanic, engineer, etc. is encouraged, but not our decision to work on our own selves toward the goal of offering our souls the possibility of surviving all the aspects of the becoming of what exists? We know very well that society nowadays is nothing but an artificial world that we have created to support our improvement in nature and in the world. We can now see that when society becomes the goal and purpose of our effort, instead of the space of our development, it is the individual that loses. Modern society is simply the greatest distraction ever to the individual. It will sing our glory and reward us as long as we neglect the existential questions that the universe poses. Your ideas about your qualities will be nothing other than the ideas your society assigned to those qualities. This society will accompany you during your entire journey on earth, trying to convince you that you are good, intelligent, heroic, right to the edge of your grave. It will even go as far as providing you a golden coffin. It will even build monuments to you, but you will enter the grave alone. And on that side, your value will be made only on your own self as a portion of this universe. This is not a matter of belief. It is true that when foolishness is rewarded, the individual will find knowledge and wisdom useless. When that is the case, we will use our intelligence to explain what the surrounding world has asked us to believe, a way to convince our own self that there is no need to change. This is how we sacrifice the spirit. We always do it with surprising pride and with the feeling that the more we persist in our belief and our faith, the more we shall succeed in proving to the God we have chosen that we are acceptable. In this way, we use our so-called intelligence to force the hand of the divine world into our corruption. Corruption produced by a corrupt soul. You want to
comment on it?
Yeah, it's a very powerful chapter. In the context of the title, the conquest of the soul. Some of the real key things that kind of come up there for me is how occupied and preoccupied we are with our dreams and aspirations, and that notion of happiness. And when we find ourselves in that space, it's very easy for society to distract us and kind of take us on that journey of conquering our soul. And I just want to say also to get well soon to Hatsini Kisati, who's not here with us today, but she would have expressed on a very valid point when we're looking in society today and how social media is influencing the world, influencing how we function, how we move as a family. There's a lot of people utilizing these online platforms such as YouTube and creating huge amounts of income, having a huge amounts of views. But then when you're actually looking at the content of what they're doing, what they're putting out, it's all to do with dreams and aspirations, but has nothing to do with the spirit, feeding the spirit, securing the soul, the unseen world, the non-material. It's all about material gain and dreams and aspirations. And I think that is a perfect example of how society distracts us and, literally is conquering our souls.
And that's why the proverb by when foolishness is rewarded, then so we can see where the society rewarding it, because its purpose is to take you down that destructive path.
And I can't sorry to cut you, Hattie. I can't remember what the exact quote is, but Naba always says, like, once you're on that path, you're going where that path takes you. You do not have no control where you're now going.
The choice that you have is the path that you take. But once you go on it, really, that's
it. You're going where that path leads to.
Yeah. And society
and we can
basically
see that destruction.
Yeah. We've got our Atini on the line. Atini Sounouka. She's one of the first generation Fahkaras. We just want to bring her in because she's got some very important views to share with us on this particular topic. Ojai Hatini, can you hear us?
Ojai Hatini.
Ojai Hatini, can you hear us? Ojai? Can you hear me now? No. Let me try something else. Ujai, can you hear us?
Yeah, Ujai.
Okay, then
Ujai, can you hear me now?
You're coming through loud and clear. That's great.
Okay.
So, welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And I don't know if you was hearing what my co-presenter was saying. She just read from the philosophy podium.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and as we said, it's like that conquest for our soul has been there. It's been ongoing for a very long time, and I don't know what your views or what you can share with the listeners on your take of how society is bringing us down that path of destruction, really, because it is what's happening.
Well, first of all, Joao for inviting me on the show, and I'd like to say Joao to all our ancestors and the Neptu and all the deities of the EC and the ancestors of all those listening as we embark upon anything that we're discussing today. Really, they have an expression in this society, and they say it's like smoke and mirrors, and a lot of what we have in the society is like that. It's like you're grasping something, but when you try to hold on to it, it's not there. Mm-hmm. If you look at the philosophy in Kemetic society, sometimes the modern society has fool people into thinking that the people are very simplistic and that they weren't intelligent, and they even go so far as decrying the society, saying that they're oral societies. But if you look in Merita and even other indigenous societies, I recall watching a program many years ago, one of these sort of nature-type programs, and they were with a group of indigenous people in South America, and they were showing how they just navigate far in their massive rivers just using the stars. Yeah. They navigate where they want to go. They know what time of day it is, and whatever it is, whatever hour of the day, whatever hour of the night. They just do that naturalistically. They know when it's going to rain, like the day before, before it rains. And, we in this society be led to believe now that we're more intelligent because we have Hubble telescope and we have all these things. But every time we go somewhere, we have to be stressing to see if we have something to charge those devices.
Yeah.
If we don't have electricity to charge those devices, or a power pack that can charge it from the sun and convert it into electricity, whatever, we're lost. Yeah. But yet still, the society is convincing you that these people are so-called primitive people, and they try and equate primitive to everything that is negative, like savages and all these other barbaric things. And if you if you step forward in a different direction, you will look at it. And again, another thing that they do is decry our people, especially in America, to say that, oh, these people have oral tradition. And the insinuation is they weren't clever enough to have written language. But at the same time, they show you all the pyramids that are covered from top to toe in hieroglyphs, which they themselves did to the language because they try to read it and understand what it says. And anything that conveys that information like that has to be classed as a language. Again, they are in this society now, and one of the biggest problems that we have from multiple causes, pollution and not using our intelligence, using a lot of things that we think make life easy. One of the biggest things we fear in this society now is what? Dementia. But yet still they decry the traditional societies who have oral tradition, where they can tell you something and stories from how long ago and carry it forward and use their brain to do all sorts of things. Because they're not writing it down according to them. Then you must be holding a lot of things and be able to hold a lot of things in your mind at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, this society we live in loves a label. They love to label things. Because when they label things, with the label, they also attribute certain emotions that you go with the label.
That's right.
So then it's very easy to change the content of the jar, but leave the same label on the outside. And that's what you find happens now in this society. So you get all emotive about X because they give it the label of X. And so now you find you get different behaviors which erstwhile might have been okay, but now they've labeled them as something that is in a category of things that is distasteful or dishonest or, And you can just think of all the different labels we have. You have whether it's racism, homophobia, and now we have all with this latest thing going on now, with this big CV thing they're going on. You've got various things now, which is like an offence to be called, a theorist. That is like equivalent to be called a racist or a homophobe or whatever, which then in themselves in turn are also things that are have been weaponized in different ways. So when you find that you're in a society where the label means something, but the substance is not addressed, so you're then again dealing on the surface. So if you think of what Martha Naba was saying in that article there, essay in the Philosophy Podium, he's saying that people are distracted into things that are dealing with what is just material, what is just physical, things you can touch or feel in the physical sense, etc., but not going deeply. And that same thing transposes when you're thinking about our physical life and our spiritual life, because that's how we are as beings. So when you're talking about the soul, you have to move beyond just the physical level. But if we're constantly distracted with all these labels of what this is and what that isn't, then, by the time you look sharp, life is over. And you haven't paid any attention to the soul.
So it's miseducation all the way that's making us form the wrong or having the wrong values then, really.
Sorry, say that again?
No, I said it's the miseducation that's steering us. Yeah.
It is. And what I think is important is, I think Saapti mentioned distraction, and that's exactly what it is, because you're pulled to distraction. So it's like, don't look here, just look over there.
Yeah.
So you're only looking at the label of things, what somebody else calls something, and then they now discern this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. Whereas if you're dealing with the substance, the principle, then you don't have to deal with the label. So it's whether the substance of what is occurring, the substance of your behavior, somebody else's behavior, that substance, is that something that you should or should not be doing? But what happens here now in society, and it's been happening for centuries, is that we give something a label, whatever that label may be. And so then we're addressing the label, and once something has been put under that banner, then straight away is something that the society in general will be running away from. So it could be something that's to your benefit, but you run away from it. You only have to look. Let's give it a simplistic example. In the 50s, for example, doctors used to even prescribe that people go smoke cigarettes to calm their nerves. Right? Mm-hmm. So it was labeled as something that's good to calm your nerves. So therefore people thought it was good, and they took all these photographs with the cigarettes, and, it was seen as very chic. If you look at some of these pictures and movies in the Western world, in the 1930s and 40s, women had cigarettes, they had all kind of cigarette holders and all sort of things. Because somebody labeled it as healthy, as something that was good for you. But whether the substance of it was looked at. Now, you would know you smoke it, making you cough, it stink. So if you were just analyzing the facts about it, common sense would have told you it cannot be good for you. But somebody labeled it as good, therefore they did it. And that's just a simplistic example of what is replicated in most of society. And so you find people in this society, because we've had the various religions, and I will say the various religions because not just the denominational religions, but now we have religion of science, religion of politics, religion of medicine. All of these things are being done. If you look at what a religion means, look up the word of religion. They've been done in that dogmatic way. Mm-hmm. And anybody that dare say something against it is coming like when you had McCarthyism in the States about the communists back in the 60s, 50s and 60s. It's coming like when you had the Spanish Inquisition in the European world way back when, hundreds of years ago. So, it's all dogmatic behavior, no matter who puts the label on it, whether they're from the Vatican or whether they're from some, I don't know, New Age thing, or whether they're, got a white coat. But anything that leads you away from looking at the facts, looking at the principle, the substance of something, looking at where is it taking you, where is it coming from, where is it taking you to. Anything that distracts you away from that is something that is not going to enable your soul to grow, because the soul is that substantive part of yourself. And if you look at the society we're in, we get so distracted into so many things. But the fundamental aspects of life, the philosophers, addendum, the consultants, the supreme brains, all these people out there, they can't answer a simple question as to why one man breathes and another man doesn't. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean because one has a respirator or whatever, or the physical mechanics of the lungs. Why does one man breathe and another one doesn't? What sparks life? They have theories, and those kind of theories are okay in this society. But when other people have other theories, they're not okay. But those theories are okay. And those theories are expounded like facts often. Mm-hmm. But the reality is they do not know. They do not know. And so people get distracted into all sorts of things. But somebody in a traditional society, say they could be doing kai tibi, they could be doing yoga. Instead of them trying to think that they're more intelligent than nature and conjecturing and building up philosophies and theories, etc., about how we came to be and how we came to breathe, rather they observe and concentrate on the breath, see how it takes them, where it can lead them. And then anytime you get more than a little way into any of those kind of practices, doesn't matter, they could be from China, they could be from America, they could be from India, you will find a spiritual aspect becomes open. A spiritual aspect will open up. An aspect that goes beyond the physical, beyond the material, opens up. Because then you're tapping into some of the energy of what life is and what life holds. But if we're constantly just dealing with the surface, it's almost like we concentrate so much about getting in the car, making the car nice, cleaning the car, putting up the car, what car we have. Is it a Tesla? Is it a Mercedes? Is it, a BMW, the latest car? Or we got to go back to work and work overtime and get a mortgage to get another car. But we forget, why did we want the car? Did we actually have somewhere to go?
But they're the values, though, isn't it? If the values, society's basically set the goalposts of what it means for us to be successful, and, to be secure in life, really. But to achieve those things is what you have to do to obtain them. And it's that thing where it's like they say, it's every man for themselves, really, isn't it? There is no us. It's all about the individual. And this is where part of the misguidance, though, really, isn't it? Where there's no collective.
But even that in itself, this society has succeeded in demonizing the ego and the striving for things that you do yourself, whilst at the same time promoting total selfishness.
Yeah.
Because really, you do need to strive for yourself, because a collective has no strength if the individuals in the collective don't have strength.
Yeah.
So you do have to look to yourself. You do have to be growing yourself. And the thing about it is that if you look at the way in which, like you say, the so-called society led us, the challenge is that when we get a glimpse and when we get a little attunement, a little shaking up by our ancestors, to say, hold on, the way that you're going is not right. The challenge is to be able to tap into that and listen to that, and then start shaking off some of the packaging, some of the outer, what's going on, so that you can get to the substance of what life is. Now, whether you get to 90 or whether you're lucky enough to be getting that shaking up when you're 12 or 14 or 16, Mm-hmm. It's a life, and everything is a journey, and it's about learning from that journey. But if you're so busy, like I said, just worrying about the vehicle that is taking you there, then you actually end up forgetting often where you are going and why you wanted to even go there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about the journey. In this embodiment that we're in now, it is a journey. We are all here for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that purpose, by any logic, cannot just be to fulfill physical needs, because the physical body will die.
Yeah.
So then that would be all for nothing. So a thinking person then will have to think, okay, well, what is it? What is it that I'm here for? And what is it that I achieve? The things that are substantive in the society even gets distracted into maybe hedonistic behavior and euphoric behavior and so on. But that's because they're still tapping into an energy that is a bit beyond the physical. Mm-hmm. Because, line me up all these lovely doctors that we've seen. We've seen a lot of doctors in the last year. And I would challenge any of them to tell me, where is joy in the body? Where is it? Mm-hmm. Where is even pain? They can tell you this fires up in your brain and that fires up in your brain, but you get two people could have exactly the same, say, physical injury, and one person will be in pain, the other one isn't. You can have two people that look okay, and they can do every MRI under the sun, and one person will be experiencing pain, and the other one won't be. So they don't know where joy is. They don't know where pain is. All these things are already, all the emotions and things are already going beyond the mere physical. But we have a kind of acceptance that, that's not physical, but that's okay. And we accept it almost like physical. But beyond that, we don't go. Because all the things that are substantive that we deal with every day go beyond the physical. Even to think. Where do you think? Where in your brain do you think? They say, left brain, right brain, and right. But people have car accident, they damage one side of their brain, they develop and they still carry on and they can still do the things they did before. So where's this right brain, left brain thing even?
Yeah. I see what you're getting at, yeah.
You see what I mean? So I'm saying at the same time, if we actually meditate on ourselves, we'll see that everybody, to live, to survive, to communicate, you're already tapping into what goes beyond the physical. Mm-hmm. But because we're distracted by all these other things, the media, the billboards and everything, whether they're physical billboards or social media billboards, they're attracted to the things that are not physical because they pander to your likes and your dislikes. Those are not physical.
But they're playing on your emotion, really, isn't it? Because they know.
Yeah, but emotion is not a physical concept, is it? Where in your body is emotion?
Well, we say our emotional feelings is coming from the heart, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm saying if you dissect a heart, where you go look at anatomy book now. Show me where the emotion is there.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Go dissect the heart. Show me where emotion is in there.
Yeah.
I challenge you. I will actually bet you £1,000. Go get one book right now because I'm so confident that you cannot find it.
Oh no, there's that little piece in the corner there. Really, that's where the emotion is.
But what I'm saying is, it's like hide in plain sight. Mm-hmm. They pander to the things that are coming off and away from the material, whilst at the same time telling you the only thing that exists is material. Mm-hmm. Yeah? They pander to that. I mean, they have to accept now, for example, acupuncture. Mm-hmm. An acupuncturist has all these drawings of where your meridians are, but you open up somebody's body, you cannot see them there. They are not there. Mm-hmm. But because they've done so many experiments, the modern scientists have to accept that if they put something X needle here, it has Y result or can have Y result. Mm. But there's nowhere there you can see it.
Physically see, yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is every human being to function is already tapping in to their non-physical side, but they're distracted into believing that the only thing that exists is their physical side.
Yeah.
But to even think, they have to tap into their non-physical side.
Yeah.
If you're in a room, as you will know, yeah? Mm-hmm. And somebody runs up behind you, when do you move? When they touch you or before?
Yeah, because your senses are playing really.
You feel it.
Yeah.
Even if there's, there's no sound, so they got softly on their foot or whatever. If you stand up in a crowd and somebody's staring at you, at the back of you, you feel it and you turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that then? You don't have eyes in the back of your head.
There's an energy there still.
So I would say, like, for everybody, and Master Naba was a great lover of saying, you must keep it simple. So if you analyze and meditate on the simple things around you, that gives you a clue. That gives you a first clue, a first step to starting to move forward and unlocking the aspects of yourself that is keeping your soul and your spiritual growth away from yourself. Because somebody else has given a label to something so that you feel that, okay, something is acceptable or not acceptable or whatever. But if you're here, then you know that it cannot make sense to say that you're born, why, how, we don't know, and you die, why, how, we don't know. And exist for what reason? Just from A to B for no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the modern society wants people to believe.
But they also want to make you believe that when you die, there's nothing that comes after death, innit? So there is
that's the same thing I'm saying. I'm saying, what was the purpose of being born? Everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
When the leaves come on the trees, they don't just grow for no reason.
Yeah.
That's absorbing the sun, it's putting chlorophyll, it's keeping the tree going. But then the tree is not just keep going for the sake of it. The tree is actually keeping the earth alive.
Yeah.
So we all have a purpose. So we can't be just here to keep ourselves alive. The same way the tree is doing something for the environment, we also have to be doing something for the environment.
But doesn't that come down to the educational? Because, I mean, if as we know in the tradition, really, they would do readings so they would know what ancestors coming back. So they could make the appropriate preparation to assist that spirit that's coming back. Now, if you, the parents, don't know, and all that's been taken away from you, this is where the confusion and everything comes in, though, isn't it?
Yes, there is. But like I said, I think, we know history and we know that lots of things have been taken away.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still examples where you will see, and it's for you to look at examples and to get from that. Even in the same television, if you watch a nature program or you watch an indigenous program of indigenous people, you will see something and then you will learn something and it will trigger something to say, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what you're looking at and your attitude to life.
Yeah.
As to how far that's going to go, because it's not going to give you all the answers, but it may take you a further step, as Apti said about on the road, onto the correct path that can lead you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly spinning around in circles, being distracted by all the other things, then you won't be able to achieve what you came here to achieve.
I think also another important point as well that Naba expresses in this chapter is that question why.
Yeah.
Which kind of it really resonates with me, because even from a young age I always remember my aunt saying to me, you have to question why. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
Why are you there? What are you getting from it? What is the purpose? And I know there is like the miseducation, but just on an individual level, we should be asking ourselves that question in every moment.
Most definitely. That's what I was trying to say before. You're saying, what are you here for? What are you doing? And that's in everything that you do. if something, part of the tradition is, logic, simple logic. And so I'm saying sometimes you don't need to know all these complicated stories. Sometimes afterwards then come in, but try and keep it simple, because when anyone, as an individual or as a community or society or whatever it may be, a group, anybody, anything is trying to distract you, they make a lot of noise. Whether it's a physical noise or whether it's a distracting you with a lot of lights or distracting you with a lot of words on paper or, audibly. So you have to try and keep it simple, like you said, and say, well, what is this about? What am I here for? What purpose does this have? And that's the thing in life. So if you think that with your actions, that you have to think that about yourself, as an entity. What are you here for? So therefore the question why definitely emanates from that, because in all your actions that you're doing, everything that is occurring around you, you think, why? What is that for? Is it taking me anywhere? Is it benefiting me or someone else? And so those are the things that grow the soul, the things that are moving towards the goals. We have simple principles, like, for example, when I say simple, not easy, but the simple principles you're given with the 77 commandments, they give you something that on the face of it says something literally, but it has very, very deep meaning. Very, very deep meaning. But then these are the types of things you look at and say, okay, what is the goal behind that? And that is the way that you look at growing your soul, because if you're just doing things, like I said, you're just continually letting your vehicle travel here, there, and everywhere, but then you keep forgetting where you're going. So you're not like our ancestors who can tell the story from generation to generation to generation through the griots and the other people and even within family. We're getting distracted. Most of us, if we go upstairs to get something, we can't even remember what we went upstairs for.
Yeah, that does. It's probably old age getting in, really, right? That's what a lot of people put it down to, innit? But they're still young, innit? So they've got no excuse.
Young, say it as well. And also, that's what you have to look at as well. With the advent of the convenient things, as Martin Abbott said, corruption rolls downhill. With the advent of using calculators for everything.
That's right, technology.
Not like complicated maths, but I'm talking about, simple addition, using sat-nav to get everywhere like most of us are doing nowadays, and using all these tools.
Your brain becomes redundant.
The brain is just getting lazy. So when you think about youngsters, some of the youngsters, very few youngsters can do their mental maths as quick as most of us older people, because they haven't had to. They've had calculator the whole time.
I can testify to that.
And so the things that remember then is not the things that they really need to remember then.
No, but the thing is, it's a habit of being distracted. For example, as I said, when you talk about people will say, that person just thinks about themselves and they're always talking about themselves, they're into themselves. Now, if you're into yourself and you're meditating every morning, you're being in touch with your ancestors, you're trying to get in touch with the divine world, trying to get clarity on what you should be doing, trying to humble your behavior so that you're a benefit to your family and your community, yeah? That's being into yourself. That's spending time with yourself. Yeah? But you could be spending time with yourself in just doing things that, everything you come across you want for yourself. You don't want to, you want to hold everything, never share anything with anyone. You could be just thinking, oh, this is mine, this is me. Where can I get that for me? So when you're talking about even thinking about yourself, it's the goal. Again, it comes down to what is the goal. If the goal is so that I can say, oh, I have all the money, I have all the, the cake in the tin, and no one else doesn't get any, That's a different goal from trying to grow your qualities. Both of those will take time that you can concentrate on yourself. But it's about the goal that you have. And it's the goal that you have will determine what happens ultimately to your soul.
Yeah.
And that is why you come to this issue and the question of conquest of soul, because if you're distracted all the time into things that are not leading you anywhere, ultimately, it's like, what is they used to say, old-fashioned thing, devil find work for idle hands to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're constantly distracted into things that are not leading you anywhere, then it ends up becoming negative. It ends up becoming negative. You find, as you grow through life and you see and you analyze what's going on with yourself or with other people, if everything is just surface, it's very easy for it to... It's very easy if you're not focused on a goal.
Yeah.
If you're not focused on the goal, it's very easy for it to become negative. So then when people are distracted, you look at what happens in this society, especially, oh my goodness, this society actually has a culture called blame culture.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Think about it. Blame culture. Yeah? Other cultures, indigenous cultures, no, they don't want to pander. Blame culture. So they have a whole culture. What does culture carry? Language.
Values.
What does language and culture carry? Behavior.
Principles.
So when you're having all that, principles, so when you have a blame culture, what is that culture? It's you. Mm-hmm. And the opposite of it's you is it's not me. Yeah. So if I can constantly say it's you, then I'm not going to challenge myself. I'm not going to look and say, how do I get closer to the divine? I'm not going to look and say, what is it about myself that I need to change to improve myself, my family, my community, my society? If my eyes are always looking at you.
And we know nothing, it's everything is kind of, is mutual really, in a sense, really, right? That we all play a part in everything that's taking place out there.
Mm-hmm.
But, people just don't want to take responsibility for their actions. And
I'm saying, if you have something called a blame culture, that doesn't assist people taking responsibility, because it's far easier to say, look over there and blame somebody else, something else. If you look at the thing in the society, every minute they're blaming somebody for something. People want to blame, the royal family, the pop star, the footballer, you name it. It just changes every day, changes every day something else.
No, it's like it's like if you get up and you decide to leave your house at a particular moment in time, and you cross the road and you get knocked down by a car. Yeah, the driver might have had a drink or all the different variables, but you played a part because you chose to get up the time that you did to take that. Yeah. So we're all part of everything that's taking place, even if it's in a bad or a good way. We're playing a part in it, unless someone picked you up and physically put you there, but you consciously made that decision. So you're partly responsible for the thing that's happening in your life as well. Really.
And that's a very good word, because you see, when you're dealing with spirituality, you're dealing with accountability. When you're dealing with your soul, you're dealing with accountability. And so when you say you're responsible, then what you're talking about there is being accountable for everything you think, everything you say, everything you do, which is not the same thing as blame.
No.
Blame is pointless. It doesn't really lead you anywhere.
Absolving yourself of everything, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, even if somebody blames a person, is that actually doing anything? It's afterwards, if they say, okay, this is the action you need to take, don't take, this is the action we're going to take, whatever. That's the thing that actually has substance. But the blame is just really something to assert somebody's emotions. And so therefore, when you distract everybody's so quick to be blaming, they blame people for frivolous things. So then when big things happen, they blame a whole set of people. But again, we come back to what we said in the beginning. If you stick a label on it, then you can just shift the blame here and shift the blame there. And the real people who are responsible, no responsibility is taken. So you find in this society, it's ironic, where people get angry and mad and make a big noise about frivolous nonsense, such as, say the royal family and who said what with babies and all this nonsense. But big things that happen, big corruption or major things that are happening to affect people's life or whatever, nothing said. Because it's like, oh, that's not an issue. So when you stick labels on things, when you talk about corruption in the sense of even corrupting the youth with the things that are available in the society now, even simply corrupting them by allowing them to, say, for example, use tablets 24/7, then again, it's just how your brain is developing. So even if the material on the tablet itself is not overtly what you might perceive to be negative, just the process can be negative.
Yeah.
Because as we were saying before, our ancestors, they could navigate ship once they're taught just by looking at the stars. But our youngsters now, you talk about culture and language, a lot of their language is even stilted because they're constantly on electronic devices. And when you're texting and that, you want to text quick, so the written language, but also the verbal communication, because we've got so much visual stimulus. So when we're talking about these issues, on the one hand, it seems like nothing, but on the other hand, it actually comes down to the same thing. What is your goal? What are you aiming for? Because for you to even think about a philosophical aspect of life, what are we here for? Why are we here? All those sort of things. You have to be still for long enough to think that. If you're playing PlayStation 24/7 or whatever else, Candy Crush or whatever else, where's your brain going to have time to do that? And so when we have the younger generations coming up, we need them also to be able to engage. So it's very nice on the Wisdom of Now show, you have youth coming on from time to time who are giving a different perspective. But all of this is to do with growth. And it comes back down to goals. What is your goal? And when everything is going on around you, sometimes just be still a little bit. And then you can maybe feel the vibration that is coming from your ancestors, shaking you, pointing you in the direction that you need to go. Yeah.
Dua Ul Hatini. I really like the analogy of how you use like the labels on the jar. I think it's a good reflection of how society is constantly changing values, and then if we're not questioning ourselves and what's happening around us, how easily we get swept away with it, and how our soul gets.
It sometimes sense the values on something change from one day to the next, or if you check over a 6-month period, hold on, wasn't they saying something else the other day about a myriad of things? You name it.
I just wanted to touch on, because you've said so many things that really connects directly with our proverb of the week, and I just wanted to maybe get a last thought from you on that proverb and how it connects with the title, which you have done already, but just to kind of emphasize. So that proverb was, distracted by what is far away, he does not see his nose.
Oh boy, life is about balance. And so if we look down, you can't actually see your nose very well on your face. You have to close one eye to see one side of your nose, but you can't actually look at your nose with two eyes open. And if you try to walk when you're looking down, looking at your nose all the time, you'll probably end up tripping up. So you do have to look a bit far ahead so that you can set your goal to know where you are going. But you also have to have that balance that your head is not so far away that you don't see what's in front of you. Because you set a goal, but you also have to put in the work to make sure you achieve that goal. So while you're walking, you still have to be mindful, because you're looking ahead of you and you might say, okay, you know, not literally, but your mind might say, oh, I don't know, 20 meters ahead is that door or that gate I'm going to walk through. But if you're so busy looking at that, then you're not going to see somebody might come running sideways and run into you, or a child might walk in front of you or something. So you still have to have that balance, so that when you're setting the goal, you also have to be mindful of how you're getting there and what is happening along the way, and adjust to what's happening along the way to still meet those goals. You know, but if you're always constantly distracting what's further ahead, it's almost like it comes down to the 77 saying, I must not be impatient. Because sometimes if we're too busy looking far ahead, it's because, no, we want to be there now. We want to be there now. And then we're not actually enjoying the process or living in the process as well. Yeah, so it's you must heavy set in everything and have a goal. That's what I would say.
Okay, Anthony, we're coming to the end of the program. As we said, the topic is the conquest of our soul. So what parting words would you leave with someone out there who is struggling?
Well, you know what I would say is that this life is not sometimes what it seems. And we are all ancients coming forward. And we are also creating those that are coming forward ahead of us, behind us, and so on. So meditate, as I said just now, on your goal, what you want to achieve, and check that goal. Is it something substantive, or is it just a car that you're traveling in? Make sure that goal is something substantive. So it's a destination, not just a vehicle that's getting you to the destination. And then we have things to happen with your principles. We have the 77 commandments and those sort of things. And in that way, if you meditate on that, you will receive assistance from your ancestors to help you get to the correct goal you need to get to. And that means getting in touch with people, organizations such as the Earth Center and others that will help you on that way. But the first step really is to try and actually be still so that you can actually find out the goal that you need to get to by even just moving one step in front of the other in that right direction on the correct path.
So it's about finding your purpose.
Yes. And if you don't know it, just be still enough to feel so you're going in the right direction. Assess what you're doing. Is that taking you somewhere? Go. If it's not taking you somewhere that you need to go to, then that's what you need to desist from. And then you will be on the right path step by step, and you will get help along the way to get you where you need to go.
Well, so it's having ambition and having the right ambition, really, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's having ambition. And having
I wouldn't say ambition, because ambition is another thing that could be swayed, can be thrown onto that jar or label. Yeah. I would say really stick to goal, because an ambition is a thought about a goal. It's not a goal.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, Duao.
Really.
Look forward to seeing you or hearing you again on another program in the future.
Indeed. Give thanks to the listeners and give thanks to, like I said, the divine and our ancestors.
Yeah, Duao.
So,
Really.
And that was Atini from one of the Fahkara generation, the first generation of the London UK temple. And in summary, do you want to?
Well, I don't mind. I think it's a good point to just maybe remind people of our upcoming event. Yeah. So which is on the 28th of this month, which is a Saturday. We are having a lecture at our London temple, located at number 21 Sunnyside Road, London E107BB. It is £7 entry for adults, £5 for ages 14 to 18, and completely free for young people under the age of 14. And the title is Understanding the Power of the Ancestors.
And this kind of tied in a little bit with what we were just speaking about as well here, isn't it?
Right.
Because if we don't have that guidance and the support of our ancestors, to be trying to push us in the direction where we need to be going,
right,
then, as we said before, this is where society becomes your master.
Right, and we risk having our souls conquered by this destructive system or society.
And it's not all achievement is achievement really as well, because in that process you might think that you've been successful, you achieve your heart desires and everything else, but when you look behind in the trail of destruction that you might have left behind to be what society might deem as being successful, then even the wealth can lead to your own self-destruction. And we see it so oftentimes out there where celebrities, people like that come into quick money, and what they do, they end up drowning themselves within that so-called wealth, isn't it? So it is about having, as Anthony said before, having that goal, a direction, and to focus, to try to stay focused, and to kind of to try to avoid the distraction that society is going to put in your way,
And always question that why question.
Yeah, who are you?
Why are you doing what you're doing, and
where did you get that
your
from?
Purpose?
Where did that come from? Where is that going to carry me to? Is it the five whys? Is it the 5 whys?
I don't know.
Well, I think there's a 5 whys or something there, where once you get all those answered, then you can kind of come to a conclusion. Anyway, so on that note, we want to say, we want to give thanks to Master Naba again, for giving us this knowledge. And say Netodua to him. We say Netodua to Naba Irita for continuing the work of Master Naba and branching out the school, more for far afield. Because this knowledge really is really important, really, especially like in these times here now where there's so much confusion, as we said, and there is that battle for our soul, and society basically, let's say they play on our weaknesses, they play on our emotions and our lack of knowledge, because what they've given us is education, and we've not been given the right knowledge really to be making the right decisions. And so this is where the Earth Center has come as saving grace. I speak for myself because I was in a lot of confusion prior to coming here, and so certain questions really I was able to get the answers for them. That's assisting me to help me to grow. Every day is still a challenge, so we're not proclaiming to be worthy than anybody else, but we're trying to evolve to be better than what we were yesterday, you know. And so with the guidance of our ancestors, the divine world, yeah, we give thanks. Yeah. And just say dua for bless as well for giving us this opportunity for using the studio really to try to get the work of Master Naba out. So give thanks for that. Yeah. And on that note we say Iri Iru.
Iri Haru.
And we're gonna play
His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock the treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet now. Far away, from far away, far away, from far away, prophet from far away, prophet Naba, far away, Musa, far away, from far away, prophet from far away, prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, prophet from far away. Bob Marley says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophet while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We gotta fulfill the book. Come to Maheru, 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 come. He got your own told story. Come from far away.